Hello everyone, today is 8th of July, now it's 15 to 9 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Quick summary, basically. Let's go sector by sector. Kherson direction, no crucial changes on the line of contact. Sides are continuing their attempts to establish control over the more and more islands in the Dnieper River and the delta of the Dnieper River. Interesting news that we got from Kherson direction in last 24 hours was that 4 Ukrainian soldiers crossed the Dnieper and surrendered to Russian forces. Just imagine level of desperation among Ukrainian military personnel, majority of which is forcefully mobilized, that they are risking their lives to cross this quite wide river, the Dnieper, to surrender, to save their lives. And these 4 militaries of the Kyiv regime, they were lucky that they were not spotted by blocking neo-Nazi units of the Kyiv regime that are executing and targeting basically soldiers that are surrendering to Russian side. There was many instances of that. So these 4 militaries were lucky that they were not spotted by these neo-Nazis of the Kyiv regime. And also, they were lucky that they managed to cross this river. They were using some plastic bottles. They gathered some number of plastic bottles and used them as something to hold on to. And well, they were successful. They crossed the river, and I guess they had a radio communication with the Russian soldiers. And once they crossed the river, they were met by Russian units. You can see that video on my Telegram channel, by the way. I posted it. So that was basically most interesting news from Kherson direction. Next, Zaporizhzhia sector of the front line in this area, main hotspot, unfortunately, is still Energodar and Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant on banks of Kakhovka water reservoir. Kyiv regime almost on daily basis conducts these nuclear provocations towards Energodar and ZMPP. And unfortunately, because these terrorist attacks on ZMPP are conducted on the orders of Pentagon, I guess, and Washington, it is highly unlikely that Kyiv regime will stop acting this recklessly when it comes to security of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, nuclear security in general. In South Donetsk sector of the front line, Russian troops continue the local-scale offensive operations in Makarovka direction on Vremevsky salient. Also in Urozhaine, half of this village is still under control of Kyiv regime, and it seems like Russian troops, even though they can establish control over this settlement, if you take a look at their map, you can see that Urozhaine is quite far away from closest stronghold of the Kyiv regime, let's say in Blagodatne. And I guess I get the impression that Russian troops just are using Urozhaine as a kind of a trap, because whenever Kyiv regime sends additional reinforcements, they are in open terrain there and can be easily neutralized. That's the only reason, as I understand, why Urozhaine have not been liberated completely by Russian troops. Also, by the way, there are heavy bombardment of the Kyiv regime forces in Uglidar city itself and surrounding areas, and Russian troops are closing into Uglidar from south, southeast, and northern eastern sides. I guess Uglidar will become a hotspot on the line of contact in relatively short time, this summer for sure. When it comes to southern flank of Donetsk sector, main hotspot is still Krasnogorovka. No reports about some crucial changes in this area. Few days ago, I reported that there were informations that Kyiv regime is withdrawing its troops from Krasnogorovka, but I guess that information was an early call. Maybe there was just a rotation that was noticed by some Russian soldiers, and they share information with some Telegram channels, and that's how this rumor started, that Kyiv regime is leaving Krasnogorovka. In reality, about 30% of the settlements, 30-40% of the settlements still controlled by Kyiv regime. This low-rise building area, private housing area, although Russian troops are advancing on daily basis, and I guess another, I don't know, couple of weeks, and with this even this slow-paced progress will be enough to establish full control over the Krasnogorovka settlement. In Avdiivka direction, there was quite significant activities, by the way. I will say another breakthrough for Russian troops. Latest reports are that Russian troops established control over the Vashod and Yevgenievka, these two settlements. Reports are coming in that Kyiv regime forces withdraw from Yevgenievka and this settlement here, and Russian troops are conducting clearing operation now. This is a quite significant development in this area. And also we have a breakthrough, of course, in New York direction. Russian troops are conducting operations inside New York now. So despite redeployment of the troops by Kyiv regime from other sectors, including northern sectors, by the way, they cannot stop Russian advances in this direction. And well, some reports are suggesting that Kyiv regime's defense lines or Kyiv regime's units in this area are so weak that probably New York will become under full Russian control in sooner than many expect. So let's see if these rumors are correct. Maybe before end of this week, Kyiv regime's defense lines in New York will completely collapse and Russian side will establish full control over this town. That's possible. And same time, of course, Russian troops are advancing in Toretsk direction. Main hotspots are now Kyiv and Druzhba. And by the way, Russian Defense Ministry reported yesterday that Leninskaya, this settlement, is under Russian control now. This settlement, as many other settlements, have two names. Let me give you name of that settlement. Chigari, by the way. Chigari. Or Leninskaya. These two names. That's the names that this settlement has. So this area is under Russian control now. And next, I guess, is Toretsk itself. From northern side, Russian troops are conducting operations in Kyiv and Druzhba settlements. Далее, next is Chasiv Yar direction. No changes in Chasiv Yar direction. There was report that Russian troops started their offensive operations on the main part of Chasiv Yar, on the western side of Seversky Donetsk Donbass channel. I see reports on one big channel on the Telegram, but no other channels reported about it. So therefore, maybe that was some sort of reckoning force operation, not really offensive. I guess another couple of days, Russian troops will take operational pause for reinforcement, rearmament, to receive additional manpower, and we will see further activization of the operations towards main part of the Chasiv Yar. In Seversk direction, no crucial changes. Russian troops improving their positions little by little and getting closer to Seversk. In this forestry area, by the way, Serebyansky forestry, Kyiv regime deployed, or maybe it's not Kyiv regime that deployed, maybe it was the initiative of this 12th neo-Nazi Ukrainian brigade, Azov. and they went into this forestry to secure northern flank of Seversk, and the Russian troops are now smoking those Nazis quite actively with the airstrikes, with the TOS heavy flamethrower systems. They are smoking those Nazis literally, by the way. And hopefully none of those Nazis will be able to leave this forestry alive. I hope so, very much. All Nazis should be exterminated. No mercy towards them, no nothing, just kill them all. And when it comes to Kupiansk direction, Russian troops are advancing in direction of Pischane. That's the settlement, by the way. According to some reports, Pischane are already under full Russian control. According to some reports, settlement is still disputed between the sides, but progress is obvious, progress of the Russian troops, and I guess it will not take too long before Russian troops will get close to Kupiansk from not just from northern side, but also from the eastern side and southern side. And when it comes to northern parts of Kharkiv direction, no crucial changes, no reports about crucial changes in Lipsy direction. Kiev regime forces still are trying to establish control over the Glubokai. During this local scale counterattacks on Glubokai, Kiev regime already lost, I guess, like 3-4 battalions at least, if you combine number of casualties during the battles for Glubokai. And same time, because of the high concentration of Kiev regime forces, I guess as a result of Russian long-range strikes on these points of concentration of Kiev regime's military personnel and armored vehicles, overall combined losses on part of Kiev regime in Lipsy direction since the beginning of this Russian local-scale offensive operation to create a buffer zone probably at this point amounts to at least 2-3 brigades. I guess my reading of the big picture is correct. And by the way, I watched of course updates from Military Summary, and the Dima, host of Military Summary channel, predicted that maybe Russian troops will withdraw from Glubokai in upcoming days because of the difficulties with the supply and support. Well, if it's necessary to withdraw from this settlement and establish new defense lines in a rear, let's say around Krasnoye, Morakovets or Aleinikovo, that's what will be done. Russian troops are acting defense strategy for a reason, but well, me personally, I don't see this is happening. By the way, I don't think Russian troops will withdraw from Glubokai. Yet again, I wouldn't be surprised because mobile defense clearly is working for Russian side, and if maintaining lines, defense lines in Glubokai is just too risky for personnel and too costly, then of course it does make all the sense to withdraw from Glubokai on more protected defense lines, especially now when Russian units in Glubokai in just like last couple of weeks destroy around 3-4 Ukrainian battalions. So they worked they demonstrated their capabilities extremely well. They fought extremely well, and if they will withdraw, I don't see any issues with there. This settlement always can be control over this settlement always can be regained, but still, by the way, I don't see it happening. I think Kyiv regime is unable to achieve any success anywhere. So that's my take on the situation. Let's see how things develop. And when it comes to Volchansk direction, Well, battles continue for control over the northern part of Volchansk, which has become a trap, another trap that was created by Russian forces. And well, when it comes to Volchansk, it's at this point combined number of casualties on part of Kyiv regime in this direction probably are more than 10,000. It's 3-4 brigades that Kyiv regime sacrificed in Volchansk direction. Inside the city and on the outskirts of the city, where as a result of high concentration of the Kyiv regime troops, Russian Air Force is basically obliterating entire units with just a couple of FAB drops. And of course there was reports about Russian progress in Sumy area. Russian troops established control over the few settlements here in Sumy direction, but at this point I still don't see beginning of a new Russian local scale offensive operations in the Sumy area to create a buffer zone, maybe in couple of weeks time. But right now probably we are talking about some reckoning force operations, not a real offensive to create a buffer zone. And this is it when it comes to a short summary. Dear friends, I remind you that military channels are providing much greater volume of detailed information on a progress of special military operation, on developments on the line of contact, and of course I recommend for more detailed information military channels, and also a channel of the Alexander Mercurius, by the way, host of Duran show, Duran channel. Of course, Alexander Mercurius provides a greater analytics on major events in the world, including on Ukrainian crisis. So all the links to the channels that I mentioned are under this video in description box, where I have this recommendation list of the channels that I follow. So if you are new to independent media, alternative media, you can check those channels under this video. They are all great, by the way. They are all great. And well, let's continue with some other news now. And first of all, I guess breaking news worldwide, which is that Prime Minister of Hungary visited China, by the way. Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, said yesterday that Western ruling elites should get ready because something big is coming, and there were speculations what is going to be next step of the Orban. I was thinking he might visit China or he might visit Trump. He visited China, and by the way, he might visit Trump now also. So he is in this diplomatic peace tour, and well, let's wish him luck, because we all want this conflict to end, isn't it? So Orban was in China. He had a meeting with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Of course, they discuss Ukrainian crisis. Orban said that he is interested in Chinese peace proposals. After all, China is a major global player on a geopolitical map, and of course, during these talks, bilateral relationships between Hungary and China were also discussed. Maybe between Hungary and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or BRICS. Also possibility. Because Hungary is clearly becoming more and more under more and more attacks from the collective West, due to its attempts to preserve its sovereignty as much as possible by being part of NATO and the EU. Because Hungary and Hungarian society and leadership of Hungary wants to preserve their traditions, their values. And globalists don't like this. And Hungary is under constant attack. Hungary's leadership is under constant attacks. And therefore, I definitely see opening there for Budapest to seek stronger ties with the emerging multipolar world. And why not? Probably these topics were also discussed during this surprise visit, let's say, of the Orban to China. When it comes to big international moves, I will share with you information that today I believe Prime Minister of India Modi will visit Russia and will have talks with the Russian President Putin. Of course, this is big. This is big, by the way. Russia and India are strategic partners. Strategic partners, in every possible sense. In every possible sense, and I'm all for further deepening of the ties between the two. I believe India is the most important, one of the most important countries in this world, and for Russia also, obviously. So great news. This is the first visit of India's Prime Minister to Russia in the last 5 years. Last time he was in 19, by the way, in Vladivostok, where international economical forum was taking place there in Vladivostok. So interesting. But there are so many topics that will be discussed between the leaders of the two countries. It's Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, for the development of these organizations, bilateral relationships, economical cooperation, military cooperation. Also, I read some articles about work on part of two countries to resolve issues with the payments between their countries. This topic is very relevant after Russian banks were no longer allowed to use SWIFT, Western financial system that is used by banks, financial institutions for transactions, because SWIFT is weaponized as entire Western financial and banking system is weaponized by Western ruling class. And hopefully Moscow, New Delhi, together and with the other members of the BRICS will come up with alternative financial and banking system as soon as possible. It is, so important that it's hard to exaggerate importance of the creation of these alternatives to the Western financial and banking system. And work is done in this direction, and hopefully we will see significant developments in this direction in near future. Then was this report that Russian armed forces established control over the Chigari settlement. I already mentioned this, by the way. Chigari is in Toretsk direction. Leninskaya, that's a second name for that settlement. Let me once again find that. So it's here, by the way. That's Leninskaya. Or Chigari, and the Russian troops are getting closer and closer to Toretsk, by the way. It's only a matter of time when Kyiv and Druzhba will become under full Russian control, and one should expect Russian flanking operation towards Toretsk, exactly from Chigari area. And of course, Russian troops are already inside the New York, and if these rumors are correct about extreme weakness of the Kyiv regime's defense lines and units in this area, then who knows, maybe before end of this week New York will become under full Russian control, and then of course road is open towards Toretsk from southern side also. And I don't know if it's even news now anymore, but I will still give you this information, will share this information, that yesterday Russian troops destroyed another 15th, according to some reports, US made Abrams tank in Volchia area, so not far away from Sokol, Vashod and Yevgenievka. So yes, there was a swarm of drones, by the way. I shared video on my Telegram channel yesterday this Abrams tank was spotted while this tank was firing in some direction, and then Russian FPV drones, one after another, strike this tanker, and yes, there was no way to run away from those drones on part of that Abrams. It was smoked basically, and this is if it's 15th. I stopped counting, by the way. After all, Abrams tanks are just tanks like any other, and they are smoking and they are burning down like any other tank does. But if it's 15th one, then I guess half of the Abrams tanks that Kyiv regime had from 31 delivered is already gone, and another half will be destroyed in a fairly short time, I guess. And there was reports, by the way, that US is deploying significant number of Abrams tanks and some other military vehicles into European bases of the Pentagon, and maybe we will hear in relatively short time information about supplies of additional bunch of Abrams tanks to Kyiv regime. That's quite possible, I will say. Let's continue now, and this is also very interesting news, breaking news, also here in Russia. All the Russian media outlets reported this news that Kyiv regime's secret services tried to hijack Russian Tu-22M3 strategic bomber, nuclear missile carrier, by the way. But FSB was and counterintelligence service was monitoring this situation, and they played basically Ukrainian special forces. They gained some information from them, and they basically conducted successful strike on one of the airfields that Kyiv regime controls. I translated this information, but it disappeared. I mean, I don't know what is wrong with these programs, but let's translate this news once again. It's an interesting development, by the way. I promise I translated this news, but for whatever reason it disappeared from this Google translated page. I have no idea why, but it only takes like a couple of seconds, so not a big deal. So let's do this, and oh, by the way, I have a text. Why am I doing this? I shared information on my Telegram, so I can read it here. So the FSB, Russian FSB, stopped an attempt by Ukrainian special services to hijack Tu-22M3 missile carrier of the Russian aerospace forces. It's a bomber, obviously. So the FSB stopped an attempt by the Ukrainian special services to carry out an operation to hijack Russian aerospace forces Tu-22M3 bomber abroad. The agency's public relations center reported the FSB of the Russian Federation stopped another attempt by the Ukrainian special services to carry out an operation to hijack a long-range strategic bomber Tu-22M3. So I guess there was another attempt also of the Russian aerospace forces abroad, and the involvement of the special services of the NATO countries in its preparations and implementation was revealed, the statement says. It is noted that Ukrainian intelligence trying to carry out an operation to hijack a missile carrier planned to recruit a Russian military pilot for monetary reward and their provision of Italian citizenship. So I guess at least Italy's secret services were involved in this operation, which is sad, by the way. Italy, why? And of course, when we are talking about Kyiv regime secret services, they are operating under the umbrella of CIA and MI6. So those are involved, obviously, from the beginning. So yes, this pilot was promised some money and Italian citizenship, as well as to pursue the missile carrier to fly and land in Ukraine. So they wanted this plane to be hijacked and then landed into Ukraine. I read some additional news, and they were asking this pilot they were communicating with to share information about Russian planes there. They were asking to destroy some of the planes, to sabotage basically work of the Russian bombers. During their operational game, Russian counterintelligence officers received information that helped the Russian armed forces launch a successful strike on Ozyornoye airfield of the armed forces of Ukraine, the FSB said. An operational game is a system of counterintelligence activities during which the enemy's actions are under control and in direction beneficial for counterintelligence. And by the way, we have some additional information that this pilot with whom Kyiv regime secret services were conducting these talks, this pilot was promised some $3 million US dollars and the citizenship of Italy. And he went straight away to his command once these secret services get with contact with him. And of course, straight away, counterintelligence, FSB get involved, and they play the CIA and MI6, by the way, and they beaches in Ukraine's so-called secret services. So well done to Russian counterintelligence and secret services. Good work, I will say. RT is reporting here that Ukraine asks West for the submarines, or these crazies in the Kyiv regime. They really are losing it, isn't it? So at some point, probably they will demand some nuclear weapons to be transferred to Kyiv regime or something. But for now, they will settle for submarines, not nuclear ones, but diesel electric submarines will make them happy. So yes, Ukraine needs Western submarines to booster its military capabilities in the Black Sea. Navy Chief Admiral Alexei Nezhpapa has stated they have an admiral, by the way, in Ukraine. Holy moly, man. Really? All they can operate is with these just fast boats. That's all. And they still admiral of the fast boats. Fucking clowns, man. Sorry for my French, dear friends, but what the clowns and the despicable individuals these bitches of the Washington and London are in the Kyiv regime, man. This disgrace of humanity. Disgrace of humanity, man. Traitors. That's what they are, by the way. They are traitors and will die as rabid dogs, as all traitors should. Kommersant newspaper is reporting that, Kyiv regime is criticizing Prime Minister of Bulgaria, now Bulgaria, because acting Prime Minister said that during the NATO summit in US, which will take place from 9th to 11th or something of July, Sofia will initiate talks about peace between Moscow and Kyiv. Sofia will initiate peace talks to start between Moscow and Kyiv. And Zelensky's regime, because they have no authorization from Washington or London to even mention the word peace or peace talks, because they have no authorization on that. They went after this acting Prime Minister of Bulgaria and start criticizing him. Even ambassador, so-called ambassador of the Kyiv regime in Bulgaria, start making some noises. If they mean something or if they are something, who cares, man? Who are you? One day, by the way, I'm quite sure all those traitors will answer for their crimes. All of them, from Zelensky to last dirty prostitute in the Kyiv regime. All of them will answer for their crimes. Kommersant newspaper is reporting that Lavrov, by the way, Lavrov, foreign minister of Russian Federation, was asked about Russian response to actions of the Pentagon. To be more precise, Russian response on the Pentagon strikes on Russian civilians on Russia. Just recently, we all know that just recently there was a strike on a beach in Sevastopol by ATACMS, US-made ATACMS missile, when 4 civilians were killed and more than 150 wounded. That ATACMS had a cluster warhead, cluster munition warhead. You all see probably videos of that. And well, Russian foreign minister said that we will find out soon what Russian response is going to be. And he said that in a way that something is about to happen. Something of significance. And yesterday during the live stream on my YouTube channel, one of the members of our community asked me about exactly this topic, what Russian response could be, and well, of course I cannot know for sure. We can only just like have informed guesses maybe, but there are several directions where Russia may respond militarily, and also there are directions that Russia can respond politically. And my guess is that probably Russia will respond politically with some strong political moves, geopolitical moves. For example, Iran already has a new president, and it will be devastating blow for Western ruling class if Russia and Iran will sign agreement on mutual protection, because we all know that, no, at least I think that Western ruling class wants to provoke regional war in the Middle East to distract navigation in the Persian Gulf through Hormuz Strait and cut off China from the Middle Eastern energy sources. I think this is one of the main goals in the Middle East for the Western ruling class, and if Russia and Iran will sign this agreement about mutual protection, then well, it's hardly possible that anybody will dare to directly attack Iran. So that will be big blow for neocons in US and Western ruling class in general. So maybe, as I said, maybe something else, maybe some other geopolitical move will take place, but I think most likely it will be Russian response in this in field of geopolitics, not necessarily military response right now, although anything is possible, isn't it? Maybe Russian side will start destroying. Maybe Russia will declare no-fly zone over the Black Sea and start shutting down all the US drones there. Also a possibility. So we will find out. We will find out soon. But Lavrov said that we will find out soon about this Russian response in a way that he clearly knows that something is about to happen. So let's wait and see. And dear friends, let me take a minute or two to advertise my own channel, because I cannot advertise anything else because I don't have advertising contracts and probably will never have. So yes, as you know, this project is subscriber funded completely, and if you think channel from Russia that shares news from Russian media, and channel that host of which shares opinion of his on certain developments, if you think channel like mine needed in this field of news and political commentary. If you think this channel is this media project of mine is useful and has some potential to grow, then please consider to support my work with donations through PayPal or Boosty, or if you can, please subscribe to my Patreon page and on my Boosty page. You can subscribe on Boosty and also donate from Boosty. It's quite a interesting platform in this regard. This Boosty is. So yes, and on my part, by the way, as my thanker for support, I will try to make pages on Patreon and Boosty as informative, as interesting as I can. Well, I publish on regular basis some extra content on both of these platforms. By the way, today not gonna be exception. I will publish new episode of Streets of Moscow, for example, in couple of hours time. Hopefully, our community on Patreon and Boosty will find that video interesting. So yes, this is it when it comes to advertising. Advertising my channels, my project. If somehow we will manage to our community on Patreon, for example, now it's 144 members. If our community grows, reaches 300 members on Patreon, probably I will have a real possibility in that case to transform this small media project into something bigger, that be able to produce more content, and not just about news and politics, but about some other topics also. So it's up to you, dear friends, really. Hopefully more and more people will make decision to join our community on Patreon or Boosty. I mean, if you don't like Patreon, you can subscribe on Boosty, by the way. Okay, this is it for advertising. I can understand, dear friends, some members of our community may don't like this advertise of my own channel, but for further development, I need some funds, isn't it? This work takes all day, every day, 7 days a week, and to get somewhere, I mean, we need this boost. We need this booster, and maybe at someday I will be able to create some vacancies. Maybe I will have a co-host. So to do so, I need to be able to pay salaries, isn't it? I need to buy some technical equipment, and there's so much stuff goes in these works, by the way. Community sees just these videos, and that's it, really. And there is all day's work behind it, and there's some technical stuff, and there are sometimes technical issues, and so much stuff is going on. But anyways, I made my pointer. I advertised my project. Now let's continue with news. RIA Novosti is reporting that coalition of the left parties, New People's Front, I guess that's the name of this group, is winning, by the way, in the second tour of French parliamentary elections. There was expectations that maybe Marine Le Pen's party, National Rally Party, will gain majority after second tour, but it's not happening. On the first place, according to data that is available right now, on the first place is this New People's Front, this leftist coalition. On the second place is National Assembly of the on the second place is party of this coalition of the Emmanuel Macron, coalition together, that's how they call it. And on the third place is Marine Le Pen's National Rally Party. So some, I read some reports, and they are not suggestions, but they are predictions that France is entering some chaotic times now, because no one party will have a majority in the parliament, and therefore every party, to achieve something, will have to cooperate with the other, and there will be trade between the parties and confrontations. So maybe it's true, maybe France is entering some chaotic era, if current times were not chaotic enough. But again, let's see. I guess Macron's party and this leftist coalition will work together, and they will create new government. RIA Novosti is a reporter that head of CIA William Burns is about to visit Cairo, capital of Egypt, to participate in negotiations on topic of Gaza. I remind you, dear friends, that yesterday, isn't it, when reports came in that Hamas is agreeing to accept US peace proposal and time frame in that peace proposal. Now it's time to Israeli leadership to decide, are they de-escalating or not. Let's see what will happen. But this individual, William Burns, who was ambassador in Russia, by the way, some years ago, and now is a head of CIA, will try to promote interests of the Zionists in Egypt. And interests of Zionists are not necessarily interests of Israeli people, by the way, or Jewish people. In many cases, it's exactly the opposite, and that's why very many Jewish people are against those Zionist criminals, by the way. We all know that, isn't it? Kommersant newspaper is reporting that US is withdrawing its troops from capital of Niger, Niamey, and before 15th of September, all the US troops will leave the country, according to agreements between the two sides. Which is good. The decolonization of the African nations continue, and Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they are clearly giving example to other countries in African continent to fight for their freedoms and to fight against colonial powers. In some cases, it's still France, by the way, which is presented in several countries in Africa still. In some cases, it's US and UK. So it will be good for Africa if they will force all these colonial powers out of the continent. Kommersant newspaper is reporting that head of Rosatom stated that due to Western sanctions, there are some difficulties now in terms of this project of Akau, project of the nuclear power station in Turkey, Akau, in terms of financing. And even though head of Rosatom, Alexei Likhachev, said that Russian side continues to build this nuclear power station according to plan, well, these hostile actions, illegal hostile actions of the Western ruling class may create some serious issues, and possibly maybe there will be some delays, and this is additional reason, by the way, why Turkey is experiencing some difficulties with relationships with the West, because of course Western ruling class knew that this nuclear power station is immense importance for Turkey, and they will create some issues by sanctioning including Russian companies that are involved in building of this power station. When they sanctioned funds, by the way, for this power station, but they did it anyways. And Turkey is supposed to be ally, supposed to be treated as ally by Western ruling class, isn't it? Because Turkey is a NATO member state, and in many areas of this world, in Central Asia, by the way, in the Middle East, Turkey was providing quite a serious service for the Western secret services, for the Western ruling class, acting on their behalf. And that's how Turkey is treated, by the way, by the West. So it's not surprising at all that political elites in Turkey are finally realizing that Western ruling class is not their friend, and if they want peace and prosperity for their country, for their people, they have to start looking for a close cooperation with the BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, with emerging multipolar world, and that's what Turkey is doing, really. At least several steps in this direction already been made, and I will end this update on this interesting news that trade between Russia and the US increased 150% in May, by the way. We have statistics for May months, and it reached in combined numbers. It's laughable, by the way. I understand that, but still, it is interesting that some trades is maintained by the businesses of the two countries. So in trade between Russia and the US in May jumped 150%. Compared to April, and reached $487 million. So yes, as I said, the number is laughable. $487 million, when half of it, by the way, goes for uranium, Russian uranium that US is buying. But still, I mean, it's some sort of trade, some sort of communication, cooperation, and it's good, by the way. It's good, as I said many times before, as many lines of communication will remain between the countries on private sector or on state level, the better. Easier it's gonna be at some point in the future to rebuild relationships, because of course these hostilities cannot continue forever, isn't it? I don't see why Russia and US should be in hostile relationships. I don't get it. We should work together. We should be allies in many directions. There is no need to hostilities, for God's sake. And same goes not just for US, but for European states. Why should we be in hostile relationships? What the hell? It's not good for none of us. Well, hopefully, Western societies will manage to influence their elites, formation of their elites, and maybe in 20-30 years time, some good people will get into position of power in the West, in collective West, and they will change something, including in US, by the way. Hopefully that's going to be the case. So to rebuild then relationships, it will be a little easier if some sort of communications will remain in place on private sector, on state level. Any cooperation, any communication is good in this regard. I hope I explained myself. So yes, interesting news. It sounds like big when you say 150% jump in a trade, but when you go to a precise number, it's only like $487 million a month between major economies in this world. That's laughable volume, but still it's better than nothing, isn't it? After all, it's still better than nothing. So, this is it for now. 55 minutes. Okay, hopefully you will find this update interesting, useful, informative, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary. And if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet, on the platforms that you are actively using. And if you like this channel, if you like my work, you can support, as I already mentioned. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.